So I'm writing a shonen manga called Maidral, but am I doing the art for it? No, and you're about to see why. I love art, it just doesn't love me. I've made comics my whole life, I do art locks on the Pokemon channel, but I could just never get any better and I never tried to get better. Every year, I wished I had tried last year, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, screw it, I just have to try. I really need a sense of structure and progress when I'm trying to learn something, so I knew I wouldn't be able to just find a collection of YouTube videos and make it work that way. So I used 3 different platforms. I used Domestika, Coloso, and Marc Brunet Art School. These 3 options scale in price, and I think they also scale in usefulness, and we'll talk about that more later. So when I first started learning, I was using Marc Brunet's Art School, and he has you draw just a lot of different shapes to like understand their form and whatever, and I really wanted to try something right away to see how it would go and see if I had any sort of skill whatsoever, which obviously is a bad idea, but it gives you a starting point. So I was thinking I'll draw Okaho, I'll draw my favorite character, my favorite manga, Radiant, and we'll see how that goes. So I had this reference image, which first mistake was that I chose a color reference image when I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have any concept of how to apply like screen tones to like mimic shading or color. I'm lost in the sauce. And I do this like kind of okay like body layout, considering this was my first time doing anything. And I end up with this monstrosity, which I'm gonna show like picture in picture so that you're not just staring at my Chromebook the whole time. This is terrible. But I thought, hey, you know what, that's only the first thing I've done. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can just try again. So I chose a character from Black Torch, another manga I really like. And this one's a lot better. I don't want to like toot my horn because this is terrible. This one's a lot better than the Okaho. So I was much happier with it, but you can tell like she's got an eye up here. It's nothing goes the direction it should be going. I tried to copy like some of the wrinkles, but not like all the wrinkles, so she has like these perfectly flat arms. It's rough. So one of the first things you learn in Marc's class is the anatomy of a head, where he uses what is essentially the Loomis method, but like tweaked a little bit. And I start filling in like page after page after page of just headshots. Or I go and I find manga that I want to try and recreate one of the headshots of. And I started with Radiant, and these ones are terrible. They're so bad. They might be the worst things I've ever drawn. Where I make like this being my first attempt, I can't stand it. My second attempt, I mean, it's like a little bit better, but only because the eyes are slightly better. But I keep trying. I'm chugging along. I'm a little rickety. I'm not doing very well. I'm not happy. But I spent a lot of money on this class, so I have to keep doing it. And I start filling in more and more heads. I do a couple sets. I do this random dude. I don't know if he's actually a character. I think I just made him up. I did the secondary dude from Kaiju number 8. I did Kikoru from Kaiju number 8. I did some more Black Torch. I did like 2 fairy tale characters. Not very good. I like this eye up here. I still kind of like this eye, but these other ones are bad. However, this Kikoru one was my favorite. I really like this one. Even now looking back at it, I still kind of like it. So page 2, it's more of the same, and they're bad. I don't even think they're getting better. There's one so far that I've liked. I drew another Kikoru to see if I could recapture the magic. I did not. I did an Okaho, and this was another one that I actually really liked. I feel like the head shape was a lot better. You know, a lot of them are very pointy or they're very broad, and I think these couple Okahos ended up really nice. The ones surrounding it still are bad. I wanted to draw a couple of my own characters, so I drew like Tiffany and Spec from Maidral. I drew what is supposed to be Captain Moxie, but it is terrible. I was feeling kind of good. I was feeling kind of nice after a few different Okahos. And I got to the point where I wanted to draw Locke. Locke is one of the most important characters in Maidral, and it was also one of the first drawings that I was like genuinely happy with. Like, I made this drawing and I felt that like I could post on social media and be like, I'm trying to learn how to draw, I really like this. And luckily, because I post on Instagram and not Twitter, no one sees it. So no one flames the shit out of me. Because it's pretty bad, but I like it. I really like this lock. To this day, I still like it. He's got weird little elf ears, and the head is very long, and he's got a football for a head. I like it. He's got UV model hair that like goes out to here. But it is cool. I like it. Drawing a Maidral character and liking the result really like catapulted me through the next few drawings. I was doing a lot of anatomy stuff, I was doing a few more headshots. I looked at the stuff I had made already and tried to figure out what I didn't like. I was making a lot of really long faces. I don't know how I was doing that, but I was making a lot of really long faces that also somehow had their eyes in their forehead. And I was doing hair that just made no sense. It came from everywhere. It would be 3 times the volume of the head. So my next few headshots, I tried to correct those mistakes. I ended up with a few like shrunken heads and like wide foreheads, but I also ended up lucking out and getting a few drawings that are still some of my favorites. It's this one up here. It is this one. This is the first page, I think, that I genuinely liked the page as a whole. Like, there were some other ones where I'd have like one good one and a bunch of stinkers, and now this one I feel like it's a few good ones and a couple stinkers. And I look at this page, and because I made the stinkers small, I look at this page and I see like Sargon, I see an Okaho that I really, really like. This was one of my favorite Okahos. I see a Melly where her hair kind of makes sense. I see a Seth where his hair does make sense. I see a Taka, who is another character from Maidral. I mean, there's a bad Lenica, there's a bad Tiffany, whatever. I see a Melly whose hair I really, really like. And I see BB. I love this BB drawing. This, I feel like I'm going to say this a lot. This is still one of my favorite drawings. This might be like a top 5. I love this BB drawing. And I colored it, and it's just flat color everywhere, but it looks nice. I like it. I'm really happy that I managed to pull off this BB drawing. It is like a little crooked. She goes a little sideways, but I like it a lot. From this point, moving onwards, we have a lot more drawings that I like compared to the like total stinkers that I hated. I like to think that from this point onward, my page's ratios of failures went way down. I was more confident and ready to try different hair techniques, overlapping sections with a highlight to separate them, and I wanted to see how the hell mangakas highlight shiny hair. I was starting to try more brushes and sizes of shine. This page gave me a lot of drawings that I was happy with. Unknowingly, I had redone a Melly from earlier. This was the first time I could go back and directly compare a new piece to an old one. I was happy that practically every aspect of this drawing had improved. This is a comparison of about 5 months from November to March. I have no real reference point on if that's slow or fast improvement, but it was huge for me. By this point, I wanted to try drawing more manga than just Radiant and Kaiju number 8, so I sprinkled in some new series and started looking more at Twitter and Pinterest. The next few months went pretty slowly for my growth. Bam! This page. Now we are at the point where I just love all these pages. We have this page that started off so rough. It started off with this ghostly white speck with no emotion in his face. He's so angular and square. We have a couple Queen Boudikas. Don't tell Tony. Don't tell Tony I drew those. I got a couple Boudikas that are really bad. I redid the girl from Black Torch. That looked bad. She still doesn't look good, but it's a little bit better. We have Rebecca from Eden Zero. That I kind of like. This one was a quick one. I took less time on this one than all my other ones, so it's not surprising that I don't love it, but I think it's okay. I drew this lock that I'm 50-50 on. I'm okay with this. I drew the guy that I always want to call Jet from Eden Zero. I know that's not his name. I drew Urza. I drew this Seth that for the life of me, I don't know what panel this is from. This isn't even Seth. This is one of the Sethlings. The Seth siblings. But is it volume 18? 18 might just now be out in English. I don't know who this guy is. Kuda, I love this Captain Kuda. I love it so much. I don't think the coloring did well. The halftone sucks, which actually made me think I might have to change the colors of Kuda. That's another like bonus of doing this, is I am working off of like a color sheet when I have these terrible drawings. I shouldn't show them. I should show the Tiffany one just to like show how terrible they are. Oh, screw it. Here's Tiffany. Here's what Tiffany looked like when I drew him however many years ago, and compared to Tiffany now. So when I draw the idea of how I want the outfits to look, I do it in color, and I don't really have an idea of how that'll play in manga. So this exercise is very interesting, and I'm gonna have to start doing this now, trying to figure out what sort of tones to apply to a character for their colors. So I not only really like how this drawing turned out at the end, I am thankful for how it made me think differently about designing character outfits. I would sort of ping-pong between drawings I didn't care about and redoing an earlier piece for just enough encouragement to push myself through the next few uninteresting drawings. I made some small but noticeable improvements to one of my favorite okahos and redrew one of my original favorites, which, having a time jump from the very first month of me drawing until now, was a crazy change, and this is still one of my favorite drawings. I was starting to realize that at this point I felt like I was sort of in a rut. I wasn't drawing as much as before, and I needed something new. I drew Megumi from JJK. Not only did it finally inspire me to watch the show, I realized what I wanted to pursue next. All the time working on his face, testing brush sizes and speeds to get the right scratch and cuts, practicing more detailed teeth, ears, noses, and expressions, something just sort of clicked. Clothes are what I need to learn next. I don't know how I got to that, but that's the direction we went. How does that make sense? I don't know, it's just what I did. So when looking through this page, this is the one that has the Megumi that like really somehow inspired me to do clothes. I spent so much time on his face, and then afterwards I was like, clothing, that's what I should do next. You know, like I shouldn't have learned more detailed anatomy after I tried all this different stuff. I shouldn't learn like different noses and ears and whatever, and different brushes for the cuts, hair, blah 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 blah. I was like, clothing, that's what I should do next. But I love this page because not only does it have this adorable okaho on the top that I really like, this is when I started trying to sort of figure out how shiny hair works in manga and trying to replicate it with different brushes. And I ended up with this okaho, who is a redraw of one of my previous favorites. And it's not that much better, but it is better, and I do really appreciate it. I ended up with this Captain Dragonov that I kind of liked. This Melly, which is also a redraw of a previous Melly. And there's one more, and Kikaru. And this redraw of Kikaru from earlier. It was like my first favorite drawing. It was on like first page or second page that I ever did, and it was the standout drawing of that page. And I'm really happy that now I have this one that 7 months, 8 months later is so much better. So the amount of art I was making at this point went way down, because I was doing 2 different Nuzlockes for the Pokemon channel, and I just really didn't have a lot of motivation to draw outside of doing that, because the editing took so long and the playthroughs take so long. Ooh, and the clothes, okay. So yeah, you can see like the top right, I did like Shiki's jacket. I went through a lot of shoujo manga so I could find more like stable half body and full body shots that I could like understand the folds easier before jumping back into shonen and all of a sudden everybody's doing kicks and punches and like there's crazy folds going everywhere and sci-fi clothing and everything else. So I drew a lot of like regular clothes. I love this page because it's just like this jacket I did in red is so terrible, it's so awful, and then 3 drawings later, even though it's not great, I did this sweater that I think looks dramatically better. And then like 5 drawings after that, I did this hoodie that I really like. Or I did the lady like kneeling down, and she has the sweater that I think looks really good. Like I did Seth, only 10 drawings after that. Like I think these, my clothing ones just got like dramatically better and better and better. So for these ones, get your salt shakers ready, because I am not going to take credit for these. So, the idea for this one was I would trace like the silhouette or the outline of the character, and then I wanted to try to go in and detail the wrinkles and everything. Because this was right at the beginning when I first started trying to draw clothes. And I still didn't really understand it. I thought maybe this would help, but instead of just trying to take like clothes and replicate them on their own, to try and go through and like see how it would feel to like do the inking over it and do the wrinkles and try it halftones. So I do not take credit for these. I like them and I like the way they turned out. You can definitely tell the parts that I did and like I didn't trace. Like some of the faces are really wonky. The hands on Narrow are pretty wonky. Some of the textures don't really line up. The tattoo on whatever this guy's name is from Dead Rock is not correct. But then like the tattoos on Millie and the hands are perfect, so it's like, well gee, I wonder which ones I did. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I like them, so I kind of wanted to show them. And just show like the different paths I took to try and understand clothing. While faces in manga are so stylized and separate from reality, clothing feels like a much more simplified version of real life. So rather than learning how each artist I admire changes anatomy to fit their style, and trying to take what aspects I like and learn how to apply them in this weird and confusing abstraction exercise, I feel like there's a real logic I can grasp for why clothes move and fold. And if I don't understand a reference, I can just put something on that's similar and figure it out right away. During my final couple months, I really wanted to bring everything I had been learning together. So on top of filling in one last page for heads, anatomy, and outfits, I really wanted to finally be able to combine them to draw full characters. I tried to get more accurate shapes on the muscles, so I'd know where they'd fill out clothing. When I got to clothing, I wanted to try more baggy, flowy, and shiny materials to see if I could replicate those folds and textures properly. These are my last pages. What do I show first? I'll show the clothes first. So this page was me trying to like add those two things together. So I would do the regular sketch of clothing that I was already doing, and then I would try like on my own to add everything in afterwards. And I ended up with something that I really liked. And this is the final page of headshots that I did. And again, we always start off with a stinker. I don't know why. We start off, I guess I get it out of my system, which is nice. But we start off with a stinker every time. So I did Vanitas from Case Study of Vanitas. I couldn't remember what it was called, I just remembered his name. We did Vanitas from Case Study of Vanitas. It's awful. I hate it. I kind of like his mouth. It's not good. It's not good. We did this Okaho that I really like. I'm at the point where I think every Okaho I do, I like. You can see down here, they're kind of tiny. Some ones that I tried to just do off my imagination. They're better than the previous ones I tried to do out of my imagination. They're not great. I didn't spend a lot of time on them. They're very quick. They're just sort of like a warm-up for the day. This one I was happy with because it doesn't really look like the reference of Lino or Ichigawa, whatever his name is. Ichigawa from Kaiju number 8. It feels like I sort of tweaked it. Like, I tried to replicate it one-to-one, and it doesn't look the same. I don't like the nose, but it looks like how I would draw it, which was the first time I was like, wait, what? So, I don't know, it's the only time that ever happened, but I like it. This guy with the funky hair, Lee really liked that one. Now, when I'm drawing clothes, in this last month, whenever I would draw clothing, I wanted to finish it and make, maybe not always a full body, but I wanted to make like a finished inked and toned drawing. So the first couple ones I made, I wasn't like super happy with because I didn't spend a lot of time on the hair and face, and you can really tell. So even though I ended up liking the clothing, when I went back to it later, I wasn't very happy. So I did that for about 3. Wasn't happy with any of them really. So in the next couple ones I did, I wanted to spend more time. So the faces are still kind of flat, but the hair has more detail in it. And they're some of my favorite I've done. I think they're probably some of the best I've done. And this one is like my favorite thing I've drawn up until this point. This is like the second last thing I drew before the year was over. I drew this girl from the manga, I don't know. It was a thing I found on Pinterest, I'm sorry. And I loved it. It was the first time I tried shading like within wrinkles and folds with a halftone. And I think it turned out really nice. The hands were hard. I messed up the hands. Luckily, they're like mostly hidden. I made the hair like the right amount of shiny. My canvas was a lot bigger this time too, so like a lot of the details could actually shine through. I loved this drawing. 1 year ago, I drew this monstrosity. I took my favorite character from my favorite manga and I used it as a benchmark to test my skills. And I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate looking at it. It's so bad. It makes me not want to do this video. And at the time, it made me not want to try. It was embarrassing enough that I thought, alright, I can just put this behind me, I can do art locks, and besides that, I'm done. And even now, I look back at it and I feel like it's the best I can do, and everything that I've made that's better than that since has just been a fluke. So it's time to exorcise this demon. How better to see my improvement than to redo my original sin? So where my original had been an empty, textureless white mess, I now had the opportunity to take a color reference and translate all of that into ink and tone. I did my best to replicate the shine of the metal armor, the plush of the cloth, the shadow in the gloves, all without allowing it to muddy together and ruin the figure in a swamp of screen tone. So with that, my first year of learning art has come to an end. I'm happy to see that I'm capable of not butchering my favorite character. Over the next year, I really want to find my own style and move into drawing more Maidral characters rather than mainly copying references. So I mentioned at the beginning, throughout this year I used 3 programs primarily. The 3 main programs I used were Domestika, Coloso, and Marc Brunet Art School. Domestika is really great if you're trying to learn like one specific set of skills. Like if you want to learn like expressive faces on manga characters. There would be a great Domestika course for that at like relatively cheap. If you want to go a step above that and you're trying to learn like dynamic anatomy, posing, composition, and perspective, then there's great Coloso courses on that are dramatically more expensive. And if you're just trying to learn kind of everything, you know, there's a lot in Marc Brunet's art school that is interesting to learn, but I'm never going to use. Like, I'm not going to do a 3D model. And his course is by far the most expensive of the 3, but it gives you sort of everything. So if Marc's teaching style works for you, which most of the time it does for me, it just seems like the better deal. So I would not have progressed if it wasn't for Marc's school, I don't think. I think I would have just been lost, swimming in the ocean. Can you learn to do manga art on your own, through YouTube or whatever? Absolutely. Can I learn to do it? No way in hell. It's not possible for me. I need the structure, I need some sort of progress, I need to know what I'm doing next. And when I feel lost, I dig myself deep into a rut, and I do the same thing over and over and over and over again until I hate it. So I can't just wing it day to day and find out videos on what to do next. I need the sort of structure that it gives me. However, one sort of downfall on Marc's is because it's so structured, you don't really have... You have time, because you can stop whenever you want. You don't really have an easy ability to dive deeper into the same thing without like skipping forward and missing a lot of stuff. So what I thought worked best for me is I use Marc to learn like my fundamentals, and when I really want to get into clothing, the way Marc teaches clothing is like a painterly sort of style. That doesn't work for me. So I can go and get a Domestika course or a Coloso course to dive deeper into that subject. So I like doing some units on Marc's school, taking a pause, and using Coloso and Domestika to supplement the extra stuff I would like to learn before moving on. So it's a lot. Get stuff when it's on sale. Luckily, all 3 of these platforms do sales pretty frequently. So if there is something you want, like, you know, wishlist it and like go back to it every once in a while and just look for new stuff. So I'd recommend all 3 platforms. I think all 3 were great. I think they were all great for different reasons. There's plenty of stuff that I probably can't learn on Coloso that I can learn on Domestika for cheaper, and there's plenty of stuff that Domestika gives you an intro to that can't show you everything that like Marc or Coloso can show you everything. So they supplement each other really well, and I think it was great. I think it was money well spent, even if it was a lot of money. So at the end of 1 year, tell me if this is like slow progress, because although I am happy with the progress I made, I do feel like it was slow. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and if you're interested in Pokemon art locks or shonen manga, check out my other channels.